Hi guys and girls on YouTube, and welcome to my channel. Well, for the regular viewers who watch my channel, you'll know I try and come up with, wherever possible, new ideas, perhaps show you something that's not been seen before on YouTube, something you've not seen for an awful long time. I try and do different things rather than the run-of-the-mill stuff that just appears on YouTube. So this week we're going to be looking at a radio. Now this is a very unique radio. It's a one-off. I don't think you'll have ever seen one of these before, and the reason I can say that pretty confidently is because it's actually a homemade radio. Now I'm not sure of its origins. I bought it off a friend of mine about, I don't know, 12-15 years ago, and I think he said he bought it from an auction somewhere. Is it British Vintage Radio, British Vintage Wireless? Anyway, it's an auction he bought this from with a great load of other stuff. Now this is the first time I've actually looked at this. I don't know the origins, but there's quite a good possibility that this has been built from an article in Practical Wireless or Radio Constructor or even Wireless World. So let's just pick the camera up and let's just get it on the bench. Right, so that's it, the radio in question. It is actually quite dirty, and there is unfortunately a knob missing, but it probably wouldn't take much to find an exact matching knob for that. Now whoever's built this has built this with a great deal of skill, because this cabinet's homemade as well, and if we look closely you can see through the paint what appears to be spots of rust. I would imagine that's the nails holding this cabinet together, and the front's actually been nicely chamfered and rounded off. The hole there's pretty much perfect. We've got 5 controls. I'm not sure. I think it's a TRF anyway, so you'll have reaction, probably volume, tuning, waveband, and I don't know what's the other. It could be a tone control. I don't know till we have a look inside. But if you look at this, somebody's actually made the scale as well. Now it says on there, I don't know if you can see it, not very well, but it says long wave and medium wave, home, light. The dial cord, incidentally, is made out of, looks like a piece of string. So somebody's gone to a lot of trouble to make this, and that scale, as you can see, has been hand drawn. Now in this video we're not going to be doing any restoration on this, but I am going to get it to the point where we can plug it in and power it up and just see what happens. So let's have a look at the side, see all that's been nicely rounded off. It's been painted in a cream sort of paint. Let's have a look underneath. Now, just put the camera down. And if we actually look at the piece underneath, it looks like it's been made from an old piece of floorboard. That's quite remarkable, whoever's done that cabinet. So you can see the grain of the wood there. That definitely looks like some floorboarding from an old house. Right, let's turn it round. Now I've already taken the screws out of the back. They were brass screws, but you can see this cover's actually been homemade as well, from, I don't know, a bit of some sort of cardboardy stuff, and they've put a ventilation slot in there. If we move down to the bottom, what we've got there, we've got a red and the black that says mains in, 2.4mm, but they have actually put a fuse in, which is very unusual because a lot of valve radios years ago never had an internal fuse, and I presume that other two there are aerial and earth. So let's pull this cardboard cover off because I've already unscrewed it. And there we go, that's the inside. Now it actually looks very, very nicely built. Everything's symmetrical. You've got a valve on each side, a capacitor on each side, a transformer in the middle. I'm guessing that's a speaker output. The other one will be the mains transformer. Let me just see if we can get a bit more light into this so you can have a proper look. Right, how about that? That's better now. Now, I guess this could have been built from a kit. I wouldn't have thought so, because if you look at this piece of aluminium here, somebody's hand cut that and filed it down and drilled it to fit in that exact place. But you can see the attention to detail, and you can see the lines here where they're scribed, so everything is in perfect alignment. All the screws and the sockets are absolutely perfectly aligned. You know, whoever's done this has gone to an awful lot of trouble, and it's been somebody with very good woodworking skills as well. So I think the best thing to do is to get them knobs off the front, and we'll get it out of the cabinet and take a look underneath. But you can see there the dial cord, that's definitely string, that's not proper dial cord. And there's a hell of a big mains transformer there. In fact, there's a name on the mains transformer. I can't just see it from here. We're going to have to get it out and have a look. Capacitors, TCC, Telegraph Condenser Company. I don't know if there's a date on that. I suppose we could probably date it from the valves. That's a 5Z 4G rectifier. I presume that's the audio output. And yeah, I can see on the front which is the wave change switch. So let's get the let's get them knobs off the front, slide it out then. Right, so while we're around the front and we've got the extra light on, I'll just show you. In fact, I've noticed there's a little bulb down there as well. So somebody's got the dial face lighting up. But anyway, little grub screw in that hole. Just turn it with this extra long screwdriver. Right, so the knobs are off. Now, despite how well constructed this is, I have found a mistake that whoever's made this has made, and the fact is this chassis won't pull out because it's pulling on that wire there, and if you trace these wires here to the speaker, they've actually just been soldered on. You would have thought they put them on a plug and socket so you could pull the chassis out, but no, I've got to desolder these. So you've got one there, and we've also got here a very well screened lead that's got to be desoldered there, and that will allow us to pull the chassis out. Right, so that's the two wires disconnected there, the screen one, the other rubber one, which has gone very stiff and obviously very brittle. I found the chassis still won't pull out, and the reason for that is, if you look down there, I'll shine the torch on it, there's a brown capacitor there, that is also connected up there to here. So it would seem that whoever went to all this trouble to make this so well forgot a simple little thing like plugs and sockets, or maybe they decided it was so well made that once they put it in the case it'd never have to come out again because it'd never go wrong. But anyway, that capacitor there has got to be soldered, and then we should be able to pull it out. Right, so let's just have a quick look at this cabinet. You can see on there somebody's put a piece of perspex. Everything appears to be measured up. In fact, it even says on there the bottom, and there does appear to be some other markings here. I don't know, you probably can't see them, it looks like just numbers. Somebody's been doing some adding up by the look of it, but yeah, that is a really well made cabinet, which appears to be made out of some old bits of wood. Right, so let's swap this cabinet now for the radio, and we can have a good look at it and have a look underneath. Right, so the more I look at this, the more I think how remarkable this is, how much time and effort has been put into getting this just right, apart from not plugging anything onto the speaker. If we take a look down there, these capacitors, somebody's actually made that with a couple of bits of wire. You can see it now, 2 bits of wire in that groove to hold that capacitor perfectly in place. And if we move down here, where the wire goes through the chassis, they've made a grommet with looks like a piece of red insulation to stop that chaffing on the chassis. Both of the capacitors appear to be earthed at exactly the same point there. These little brackets have been made there to hold that aluminium plate up, and this whole thing is remarkably heavy because of this massive great mains transformer. I don't know why they used such a big one, but let's have a look what name it says on it. The Portminster Guaranteed Mains Transformer, 80M. I can't read the other bit. That's probably, I would imagine that stands for 80 milliamps, which is far too big for a radio this size. 5 volt winding 2 amp, will that be for the rectifier? And 6.3 for the other valves. But yeah, that transformer's absolutely massive. So what we really need to do now is we need to have a look underneath. There's quite a lot of dust in here as well. I think I might give it a bit of a hoover. That'd be the long and medium oscillator coil, TRF radio. Oh, it's 2 dial lights. I didn't see that one at the top. I only saw the bottom one. Now, I would imagine by the markings on here that this plate has been handmade as well. That's your piece of string for the dial cord. It's still actually quite taut, that, so it might even work. Right, let's have a look underneath now. Right, even down to the fastenings on there, look. They've been made properly to hold that up. Now I think we should be able to stand it upright, flat on that. Right, so that's the underneath. Because it's a TRF, there's not a lot going on underneath. It's slightly disappointing. The top looks more impressive than the underneath. Now of course none of these capacitors, these wax ones, none of them will be any good, and ideally if we were going to get this going, all them would have to be changed, which would kind of spoil it. But if you look at that, now there's a wire there. It looks like it might have gone onto there, but because it's so rigid, that has not originally been on there and dropped off. It wouldn't go that far, too hard. But if you look at that, everything's screened up, even down to the tuning capacitor on the front, the wire's screened. Now we did think these 2 sockets here, that aren't marked with aerial and earth. The fact that that one goes through a capacitor and it's connected to chassis here would indicate that that is an isolated earth connection. I presume that's the electrolytic for the audio output valve, which is a, what did I just see on there, 6F6G. That's the audio output valve, so quite a few watts output from this radio. Let's just look at the construction. I don't know whether this has been made from new or second-hand parts. It's difficult to say. I would guess probably, apart from the chassis which somebody's built, I would guess probably second-hand parts, and I'll tell you for why. This resistor here, if you look, it's been joined just there to make the lead length longer. Now that would suggest a previously used resistor. I might be wrong, but it's very well constructed. But I do see something here that does not make sense. Obviously all these parts, I don't know, what are these, 1950s? All these parts are very, very old. And if we look on the volume control, nothing here seems to have been resoldered. I mean, I might be wrong, that's just my guess. But if we turn it round here, that resistor there, that is not in keeping with the rest of the radio. That resistor there is a modern one. Let's just see if we can get, there you can see what I mean. That doesn't match, unless that was changed at a later date, maybe, but the soldering doesn't look like anything's been disturbed. But yeah, you've got your very old resistors there, and then you've got something that's totally out of place. So maybe it was changed at a later date, or is this a reproduction radio that somebody's built with as many old parts as they could get? It's a mystery, I've no idea. But what I am going to do is just try, I'm going to reform these two capacitors on the back, and then we will just plug it in and see what happens. I'm not expecting for 1 minute it's going to work, because like I say, all these caps, was that the cathode bypass there? That's an electrolytic, look, 25 microfarad. All these caps all want changing, which in my opinion would totally spoil the originality of this. Let's get a light round there. Right, let's light flat back again. Right, so this control here is actually connected to earth down there, and that capacitor goes up to the speaker, so I would imagine that one is the tone control. Now, did I say that was the speaker output transformer? I think I might have made a mistake. I think it's a choke because it's actually connected between the two positive poles of these reservoir capacitors. So I would imagine that's a choke, and that's probably the HT feed up to the speaker transformer. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reform these capacitors, and then we'll plug it in and see what happens. I'm not expecting for 1 minute it's going to work, but it'll be just interesting to see anyway. Right, we'll come back in a bit. Right, so while that's reforming, I'll just see if I can get some dates on these valves. So the output valve, 6F6G, it'll produce 4.5 watts at 9% distortion. And it says here, first introduced in 1937. Now let's check one of these other valves, see if we can get a number on that. Right, and I've got a number on that, 6U7G. What is it? Variable mu pentode. Again, 1936. What's that doing on? Go. Yeah, first. Oh God. First introduced in 1936. So I mean, does that date the radio? Probably. Let's assuming these valves were old surplus ones, maybe that dates it to the 1950s. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will know though. Right, so I've come back to it now. As you can see, the capacitors have reformed so well. It's almost like this radio was only switched on last week, but it wasn't. It's been here well more than 10 years I've had it. So let's just disconnect that now and just put a capacitor meter across them. So what should they be? 16 microfarad. I'll just measure them with a meter. Right, so here we go. Clicked across the first cap, press the button. Impedance 1/4 ohm, capacitance 15.52 microfarads. And it's specified at 16. That is absolutely remarkable for a cap so old. Let's try the other one. And we get the other one by just clipping onto there. Discharging that one, look. Same again. Impedance 1/4 ohm, capacitance 15.67. I think we're good enough to plug this in now. Right, so I'm just going to make a plan of what I think these controls are on the front. That's probably on and off and volume. I would imagine that's reaction. That's tuning. And on the top we have wave change, and I would imagine that's tone. So let's just make a quick plan onto here. So there we go. I think that's how it works. Now I've just noticed something here. That's something I can't get my head around. I keep thinking about this resistor here, which looks so out of place. I've just realised that this, let's see if we can get better light. I've just realised that this outer jacket is actually a plastic sleeve. Because I don't know if you can see on the camera there, but somebody melted it there with a soldering iron. I've never seen a resistor in a plastic sleeve where the colour code is actually coloured on the plastic jacket. But let's just see if we can get a close in there. We're struggling with the light a bit here, but let's zoom in. Can you see that there? That's plastic and that's been shrunk on. You can see there now where it's melted. So that is something I can't really get my head around. I don't remember any resistors with a plastic sleeve on. But I mean, I don't know. I can't remember everything. I've certainly never seen anything like that before. Right, so what we've got here, we've got 2 4mm for the mains. I've tested that fuse, that's okay. And aerial and earth. Let's get it powered up. Right, so we've run into a slight problem. We don't have any continuity across the power input. Now I've actually had a quick look, and it turns out the on and off switch on there is open circuit. So it looks like this radio, the switch has gone, and that's probably, while it why it was discarded and never used again. I'm just going to bridge that over with a little bit of wire. It's only a single pole just down the back there. Just get a bit of wire across that and we'll try again. Right, well, just while we wait for the soldering iron to warm up, I have just noticed something here. I don't know if you, the viewers, have noticed this or not. Probably so. I'm probably slow on noticing, but if you look at that capacitor there, it's actually manufactured by, oh it's marked radio spares. And so, there's that waxy one there. Radio spares. Oh, you can see it better on that one up there, look. Yeah, so I hadn't quite noticed that before. But anyway, soldering iron's warmed up. Let's get a link across that switch. Right, so that's just a little bit of wire put on there now. Now I'm just going to measure that there, that resistor. Just out of curiosity, what is it, 300 ohms? And we're measuring 322. Because the thought did cross my mind, is that a capacitor? But no, it's not, it's a resistor. That is so strange. A plastic jacketed resistor. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, we're getting ready to power it up now. Right, so that's just the speaker temporarily connected up. Now, although it's probably not necessary because of how good them reservoir capacitors are, but I'm still going to run it up slowly through a variac. We probably don't need to, but just as a precaution, and I would point out that I'm running from an isolation transformer on the workbench as well. So I think we're running pretty safe. So right, I'm going to power it now, see what happens. Start on about 50% mains, 100 and, don't know, 130 odd volts. Right, so we're all set up then. If you look at that, we've still got a little bit of charge in one of them reservoir capacitors. So here we go. Let's see what we set to. 40% on the variac. Right, we've got a problem somewhere because nothing's happened. And I've stopped the camera. Right, actually, no, that's a big mistake. Take no notice of that. We're going to have no HT rail till the rectifier warms up, are we? Right, so here we go. So what's happening? You can see the emissions coming up now in the rectifier valve because we've got the HT rising slowly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the camera and I'm going to rise that very slowly up to the full mains and then come back to it. Right, so we're still rising very slowly. I don't know if you'll be able to see on the camera, but you can just about see, well, you might not be able to, slight glow from the heater in there. So what we're up to now, 180. So let's go a bit more. I think we'll probably stop around 230. Right, that's the audio output valve heater. And as I pretty much expected, nothing's happening. Oh, hang on, I can hear something in the speaker. Right, let's get a bit of an aerial wire connected to it now. Let's just get that up a little bit more. So there's some activity in it. Right, so the only problem is now, because my workshop is in a big metal box, there's virtually no signal inside, there's no mobile phone signal, so I've got to get a long piece of wire running outside. And if we just have a look down here, you can see there we go, running out the door, and that should give us some sort of signal. That's my long wire aerial running right down there to the end of the workshop. Right, let's go and turn it on now. Also, I've got rid of the variac because nothing blew up, so we don't need that. Right, here we go. Which is the on and off? That one there. You see the mains coming up now. Oh, look at that! Look at that! It's picking up a station. Well, the volume works. Tone control doesn't seem to do a lot. Oh yeah, it does, yeah. We do have quite a loud hum though. But let's have a look. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just turn it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in its case, and then we'll try twizzing the tuning. Let's just see if it turns. Yeah, a bit stiff, but it moves up and down. Let's just solder it back into the case and we can try it properly then. Right, so just wait for the soldering iron to warm up, and then we'll pop them connections back on. Right, so that's that back on. All this rubber wire's all gone hard as anything. You can see it's cracking when we bend it, but I've just realised I'm not going to take it off again now I've soldered it back on, but I've just realised the two dial lights weren't lit worthy. But that doesn't matter because that's not going to stop us just trying it again. Right, so just a temporary connection to the mains now. I can't find, they don't seem to be 4mm sockets then, and I can't find a plug that goes in them, but I mean we're perfectly safe here. We are in a workshop, we are running from an isolated transformer on the bench. Let's turn it around, get the aerial in there. We won't bother for the earth for now because it seemed to pick up something without, didn't it? Right, so there we go. I've put the knobs back on in a different order. I've left off the one for the tone because that's the one we need the least to actually try this radio. So let's power it up here. And see what happens now, because I might have moved these, putting the knobs back on. No, it's come up. Now I'm not a radio listener, so I've no idea whether that is medium or long wave, and I've no idea what the transmission is. Somebody might know. And I'm not even sure if that hum isn't mains hum. Perhaps it's and like an interference hum. But let's have a look here. Tuning. So that's tuning.
Probably not, but what is the alternative? This is the most political.
Hang on, what's happening here? It's not turning.
And taxing and allocating resources. It can only be done.
And that's not doing anything.
Elected politicians. But it's necessary.
Wave change works, but
A settlement will be announced.
I'll just have to have a quick look while that's not doing anything.
But it'll be pretty close to it.
Right, I've soon sorted that out. I pushed the chassis too far in and the tuning condenser was touching on something. Let's try again. Oh, dial light's lit now. Must be a bad connection then. Oh, one light's lit, the other one isn't.
Some mortgage lenders relax their affordability rules, and some don't even want
Right, now let's try the tuning.
Buyers exposed to future risks. The world's smallest 80th birthday present from the Department for Work and Pensions. And what do you do if you got a sudden windfall?
I'd probably put it all in one place, leave it alone for a while.
Right, still not working very well, this. Oh, it's going down. Ah, Radio 4 they just said. Right, still got something wrong there because that's very reluctant to turn.
Living under Russian occupation reveal their small acts of resistance. A mother and daughter reunite in Chile after being separated decades ago under the dictatorship of General Pinochet. We're in West Papua, home to spectacular coral
That
reefs.
doesn't seem to do
but
anything.
there-
Wave change works.
And finally, centenarian walk to Normandy to mark 81 years since the D-Day landings.
With plenty of volume.
News of Ukraine's massive drone raid on Russian air bases this week.
Right, I might have to
Surprise and disbelief.
pull it out of the case and have a look, but
Possible. Operation Spider's Web was 18
we have
months
so
in
far
the
got a one-channel radio. Who would have believed?
during which time scores of drones were
Who would have believed that that would have worked with all them waxy caps in?
media was euphoric after the attack, though many Ukrainians remain wary, with no further progress made in peace talks and as
Right, so I think I can see the problem. Not only does it want a proper dial cord, not a piece of string, but if you look down there, the piece of string is actually chaffing on the wave change switch. So they've got, well, I think the switch probably needs bending out the way. But I think that is all I'm going to do with this at the moment, because it really needs that dial cord swapping for the proper stuff. But let's just turn it around and see it running once more before we end the video. In fact, let's just have a look at it running from the back. That's the rectifier.
How much these plays have changed.
That's your output
But
valve.
must be vigilant. All signs
And the
of
RF
Ukrainian
valves
identity have now been banned in
right
public,
down there at the
she
front.
says. And she cannot speak Ukrainian outdoors anymore. You never know who can tell the authorities in you, she explains. Irina tells me that children at a nearby nursery school are told to sing the Russian national anthem. Previously denied torturing or mistreating captives. Irina fears for Crimea's next generation, who have grown up in an atmosphere of violence.
Let's
She
turn
showed
it off here.
a bandaged cat during our video call.
So there we go, guys and girls on YouTube. I think that's quite an interesting video. It's a very unique radio. Now if anybody actually recognises it, perhaps somebody might have seen this design in the magazine before. If anybody recognises it, please leave it in the comments. But anyway, we'll end the video. Many thanks for watching, and I never would have believed that would have come on like it did with all them old caps in. But there you go, that's live. I'll catch you in the next video. Many thanks. Hope you've enjoyed it. Goodbye.